And I'm absolutely thrilled that he has joined us this morning. Good morning, Terry.
Good morning, Sonia.
Thank you so much for joining us. This is my co-host, Sean Ward.
Good. Hello, Don.
Hello, how are you?
Very well, thank
you. Welcome to Rise, sir.
Absolutely. And you are, Sir Terence Hardy Waite, which I think being made a Sir was a real peak moment for you, I've read, and with good reason. But and I'm not always, as everybody knows, I can be very anti-establishment, but every now and again I say this person deserved that. Now let's give some background to Terry. He's humanitarian, he's an author, hostage negotiator, and he probably came to your attention when he came to prominence as a hostage himself. And I think in many people's minds, Terry, you're sort of frozen in time, like on the steps of the plane. And that's how we remember you. I mean, you were taken hostage for, it was over 3 years, I think, right?
Well, yes, I was captured in Beirut when I was negotiating for the release of hostages. And it was 5 years, almost five, apart from a few weeks, when I was kept in strict solitary confinement for all that time. Apart from the last few weeks, I was chained to the wall, slept on the floor, no natural light, and no one to speak with, no books or papers for about over 3 years. So it was fairly austere.
It's extraordinary, and you catalogue that in the first book that you wrote about this experience. And so for those who don't know, of course, you were the assistant for the Anglican Communion Affairs to the Archbishop of Canterbury, Robert Runcie, at the time. You were an envoy for the Church of England. You had already secured the release of a number of hostages, so you were definitely experienced in that area. But Terry, what is it like to be chained to a wall and to be deprived of pretty much all your senses? How do you survive such a thing?
It's not an easy experience, obviously, but what one has to do is learn to live for the moment, to recognize that you still have life and that you can live life as fully as possible within the very strict confines of that situation. I mean, and what you have to do really is to keep your mind alive. I mean, I began to write in my head. I mean, the first book I published later on, when I came out of captivity and put it on paper, that was principally written in my head in those years.
Wow, Taken on Trust. That was the first book, wasn't it? And that was a book about your experience, yes.
That's the one, yeah, that's the one. And that was written in my head. And then, you have to keep your imagination alive. I mean, I've never been good at mathematics, but I used to keep my mind going by doing this complicated arithmetic in my head, adding up, subtracting, and so on, just to keep things moving forward. And then I'd take journeys in my mind. I'd travel beyond the confines of the cell so that I could use my imagination. All these things. Physical exercise was out of the question because I was chained by hands and feet for virtually 23 hours and 50 minutes a day.
Oh, that's just awful. Sean, go on.
My mind is blown, Terry. Yeah. To me, that shows the power of the human mind. Have you always had quite a strong mind?
Well, I think, if someone had said to me before that experience, well, you'd never deal with it, I think I would have agreed with them. But you find when you're in a situation of extremity that you have resources that you didn't know you had.
Right.
And that's true for most people. Now, the thing is not to give up, to keep hope alive and to maintain hope. And if you can, I mean, I just give a simple little example. I was in a room, in an upstairs room, locked in this room, with metal shutters in front of the window so no natural light came in. And in the morning, when the sun came up, the sun hit the shutters, of course, and there was a small gap, and a beam of light came into the cell, and gradually it illuminated the cell. And I thought, don't give up. Light is stronger than darkness. Keep hope alive. And
We
Wow.
shine brightest in the dark.
those little things help you in those situations. And of course, I would have been immensely helped if there'd been other people around who could give support. And that didn't come until the last few weeks of captivity, when I was moved in to be with other hostages, because I'd become physically not well. I was ill at the time. And then, of course, I was released.
In an interview that I read, I think it was with the Times, you mentioned meeting the man that held you hostage, and that you have no desire for revenge.
No, I went back to see them some years later. They were surprised to see me.
I bet.
To the lion's cage twice, Terry.
But
So
they've moved on. They've moved on. I mean,
but how did you move towards forgiveness? How did you get to that point of like?
Well, I mean, I think you have to recognize that forgiveness is always possible. That people do stupid things and bad things. There are one or two people who are thoroughly and totally evil. I think there's no doubt about that. But there are many people who get caught in situations for a whole variety of reasons and just need to be given a new opportunity, a new start. Wow. And in this case, the captors who did employ those techniques of taking hostages at the time, they'd moved on, they'd moved forward. And I went to see them and I said, well, they said to me, they did apologize actually. Wow. And they said, well, what can we do? And I said, I've just come back from the Syrian border. I've seen the Lebanese border. I've seen refugees coming over, are cold and hungry. Can you let me have heating oil for them? And they said, okay, we'll do it. Well, now that was a very small gesture. It's not going to make great political changes, but it was the beginning of a period of reconciliation. What we need today, I mean, the world is so divided. We need people who will be reconcilers, who will try and, get across the differences that there are between different cultures, different nations. And rather than being aggressive all the time, be a little more reconciling. Doesn't mean to say you condone bad, evil deeds. You don't,
So do you think
you could be a reconciler?
So, okay, sorry, Sonia.
No, not at all. Go for it. Sean, clearly you've inspired Sean this morning. I should just say, Terry, you've got them jumping up and down in the comments.
Huge.
People are so happy to see you and
Oh,
talking about so much respect for you and your resilience and your amazing strength and what an incredible individual you are. Sorry, Sean, go on.
No, it's just, yeah. So that personal journey towards forgiveness, do you think that influenced your approach to reconciliation? And do you think that ties into the support that you have for individuals like Clive Freeman, who is wrongly convicted?
I've always been concerned all my life with people who are on the margins of life or in difficulty, the homeless and prisoner. And I've had lots to do with prisoners over the years. And, some of the most difficult situations that I face regarding prisoners is when prisoners come forward and claim their innocence and say they're innocent of the crime that's been committed. And you know full well that everybody who says that cannot be innocent. They've been convicted by a court of law and, but there are some. I mean, I think official statistics are that about 6% of people who are in prison and convicted by a court are actually innocent. And
Wow.
we've seen that a case recently where, Andy Malcolmson, who was rejected twice by the Criminal Cases Review Commission, was actually innocent, although there was evidence there, which was being sat on for 10 years, that he was in fact innocent. And the Criminal Cases Review Commission turned him down on several occasions. Now with Clive Freeman wrote to me years ago. He was convicted of murder and was given a 13-year tariff. And that means that he would not be eligible for release until he'd served 13 years. Well, now he is 23 years beyond that date, beyond 13 years, 23 years. And the reason he's beyond that date and is not allowed to apply for parole is because he refuses to admit his guilt. He says, I am not guilty. I cannot. if he admitted his guilt, he would be eligible for the courses, rehabilitation courses, and therefore be eligible for parole or to be considered for parole. But he refuses to do that. And so he served 23 years extra. Now, that in itself should tell the Criminal Cases Review Commission something. Now, evidence is brought to them, and the forensic scientists at the time who conducted the forensic investigation into Clive's case claimed he was murdered. Now, since then, many other forensic scientists,
nine eminent pathologists, yes,
have said, you know, this is a wrong diagnosis, this is a wrong conclusion. But the forensic scientists at the time will refuse to back down. And the Criminal Cases Review Commission, who, interestingly enough, have rejected 97% of the 29,000 cases that have been put before them. Wow. 97% have been rejected.
That's huge.
I think these figures do say there's a case here for investigation. There's a case for review here. And really why I'm interested in that is simply because of fairness and justice. And we do know, as I've said, that innocent people can get convicted. And this is not a bleeding heart plea. It's not someone that's I'm not being over sentimental.
Right.
I recognize that, well, I've said it. What more to say?
Absolutely. And obviously this is in relation to the death of Colin Hardy. And many people, including these eminent pathologists, believe that Mr. Hardy, rest in peace, died of a result more likely to be alcohol and drug intake. Highly likely there was no crime whatsoever. But as you say, Terry, quite rightly, and that is, well, Clive, first of all, has said he is not leaving prison unless he's exonerated, right? Which is right. A huge statement to make, isn't it? Because some people would say, oh, just admit it and get out and enjoy the rest of your life. But it is you have to have some honor in this life, don't you? You have to have some integrity.
When you do, and I do know a case. I mean, I'm actually, interestingly enough, working with another case at the moment of someone who I think fairly sure was innocent, but because, again, because of this particular form of legislation, he said, well, I'm going to admit it and get out. And of course, as soon as he admitted it, he was admitted to the course and he was released.
Wow. Terrible.
You see, that's how it works.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's an insane situation. Yeah. Terry, I've heard you say, and I think this is really the question that needs to be asked, and that is, what is actually gained by keeping Clive Freeman inside at this stage?
Well, nothing is gained, nothing at all. In fact, I mean, it's probably costing the taxpayer something like over 35,000 a year just to keep him there. That roughly the cost of what it used to be the cost anyway for keeping a prisoner in jail. There's no reason. And also, as I understand it, Clive Freeman now is pretty ill. He's not well.
Yes.
He's not well. I mean, simple compassion would say enough's enough. Let this man go. But there we are. We've, the rules are rules, legislation is legislation. Somehow we've got to move this forward and get the Criminal Cases Commission, Review Commission. I think probably that whole body needs looking at again.
Yes, absolutely. And I can't think of a finer person than yourself to lead the charge. I mean, Terry, I mean, I not that I want to point out the fact that you're 85. I mean, Terry, you look a good 20 years younger. And I think this is in part due to the incredibly rich life that you've led, because your life has been very much spent in service to other people, and that has an impact.
Well, I suppose, yeah, I'm still pretty busy. I mean, there's work with the homeless, with an organization called Emmaus, not a religious organization, a secular organization. I mean, we started that 30 years ago when I came out of captivity in Cambridge with a porter cabin and nothing else really. And now we have 30 communities across the UK.
That's amazing.
With enabling formerly homeless people to get back into life and get back into full living. And then, of course, there's work with Hostage International, which is going well, where we give support to hostage families. And right after this call, I've got a call with someone who's being held in a foreign country. I won't say where, but through he's been held in what is called arbitrary detention. He's in prison, and because of the facilities made available by his government, he's able to speak with me every 2 weeks. He's totally innocent of any crime, but he's just been held because of a dispute with his company. And he's there, and he's been there for 3 years. And I speak with him every 2 weeks to try and enable him to keep his hope alive. And that will take place immediately. I put this, finish this conversation with you. And so there are a whole host of other people, with whom we're working. We have a very good little, this is Hostage International, which I co-founded some 20 odd years ago. So there's a lot going on, and I don't think I'm going to about ready to retire yet. I said I'll probably retire in 5 years' time when I'm 90.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. Yours is a life well spent. That is the reality. Yours is a life well spent. I think we can all learn from you. I can even tell the affection that people hold you with. The comments are really clear. Let me read some of them. Amazing man. I keep seeing that already. Right. Catherine says Terry can live life without there so many coming in, Terry. They're leaping in front of my eyes. Sorry, Catherine. Terry can live. Guys, I'm so sorry. If I can just grab this, I'll try. Terry can live life without anything holding him down mentally because he doesn't allow the trauma to continue to dwell, and forgiveness in some cases is a must to healing. Is that a reality for you, that you had to forgive in order to be able to heal? Because 5 years where you are in such a place that you were, that takes a lot of forgiveness to be able to go back.
I think the answer to that is this. I certainly don't regard myself as a victim. I put myself in that situation. No one put me there. It was my responsibility. I knew the danger. I knew the fact that I could be captured. I went back because I'd been given the promise that the hostages were sick and one was about to die. And I said to myself, well, if that man dies and I haven't got the courage of my conviction to go and see him, I'm going to have to live with my conscience for the rest of my life. There's a personal motive in it, Yeah. I was thinking of myself as well. Yes. And so, I have no reason to blame other people. And if you take a decision, you take your own responsibility for it. And if things go wrong, well, you don't blame others. It's my responsibility.
Wow. A rare man of principle, says Luggerbugs. Awakened Being says, I remember praying for Terry when I was a child and to the other captives that they would be rescued. Terry, I am not overstating this when I say that you did actually inspire me in terms of my campaigning, because I just felt that you were a true humanitarian. And I still absolutely believe that. And I completely take my hat off to you. Catherine says, well done, Terry. Very brave man for the sake of humanity. So humble, says Trudy. Absolutely. And I think that's the other, you're very human, very down to earth. Go on, Sean.
I agree. So you mentioned hope before and how important it is that, especially in these sorts of times. So I think everybody right now feels that they've been held hostage or captive on the planet because of the last 3 years with COVID and stuff. And we were all kind of locked in our houses and a lot of people have struggled. So what lessons and insights can you give from your experience that can help people that are struggling now?
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I was with friends yesterday and I was saying, I don't wonder if it's old age or what it is, but I feel there's greater anxiety at the moment. I feel greater anxiety. And my friend said, yes, we also. And I think there are lots of people like that who are anxious about the situation. They're anxious about what the effects of climate change. They're anxious about rising costs. They're anxious about how they're going to meet the budget, and so on. an awful lot of the whole pressure is on people at the moment. Well, I mean, there's no simple one answer to that. I mean, first of all, you have to be a little bit reconciled with yourself. You have to admit that we do live in uncertain times. There's no such thing as absolute certainty.
Right.
And somehow begin to try and say, what the area that I can affect for good, let me try and do that. Let me try and act in some way positively, by being not just campaigning, but by being more of a human being, more of a compassionate person to other people, to listen to other people, somehow to enrich your own life by enabling and serving other people. You can do that. I mean, that's a very simple and probably an over naive way of approaching it.
Hardly naive, because you've
all.
seen the big picture. You've seen the big picture, Terry. I take it. I take absolutely what you're saying there. I absolutely do. I'm so grateful for you joining us this morning, not only to give us a little bit of insight into your incredibly rich background, which, as I say, you've captured in the book Taken on Trust, but also in support of Clive Freeman. We will be putting a link to Clive's petition in the show notes afterwards. But so Terry, I mean, there's no stopping you really, is there? That's the reality. And when you say that that's overly naive, I don't think it is. I actually think that you've been very fortunate, oddly enough, you've got the big picture. You've got the big picture in your lifetime.
Well, can I just say thanks to those people who've written in just to say nice things. That's nice of you. Remember, I'm a human being full of my own faults, so there's no one's perfect. But also, if you want to have a look about Clive Freeman's case, just Google him, put him on the web or whatever, and a whole host of information will come up and you'll be able to follow that through. And thanks for your interest and support.
Pleasure. Trudy says, much love to you, Terry, and thank you for all you continue to do. Absolutely, everybody. So Terry Waite, take good care of yourself, Terry. God bless you. Lovely
Bye-bye.
to see you this morning.
Thank
Have
you,
a lovely
Terry.
week.
Cheers.
Lovely to talk to Terry this morning. And it's odd, Sean, because you know what I'm like about sirs and all that sort of stuff, right? I don't do that kind of stuff, right? But every now and again, I go,
him.
Yeah, every now and again. And Terry Waite is one of them. Beautiful human, respect in abundance, Terry, says Michelle. Thank you, Terry, for all you've done for humanity, says London Lady. Love that. I mean, that is actually somebody who's literally walked the talk,